We will now call this November 18th meeting to order. Such a fine assembly of gentlemen and ladies. Maybe I ought to take a picture and send it to Woody and let him know that you guys are working. Huh? Let's call Thrasher Group up first. Dan, Anthony, and whoever else, please, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Dan Carroll, Thrasher Group, the sanitary and sanitary board of the city. Which Thrasher Group and work primarily with the water, board presentations, I think it was here about a year ago before it started after the bidding, maybe a little less. And, with the anticipation of this large project getting ready to start, as I think I said at that time, some of the purpose of the project, we're trying to coordinate multiple efforts. We had a lot of infrastructure to fix. The water board had to address the lead lines. We are under mandate to separate our storm and sewer as part of our sewer permit. We needed to replace the aging infrastructure. I'm going to give you a couple examples of what we have found. And we were trying to utilize some of the federal funding, the COVID money and stuff like that, and also the DOH paving that was getting ready to come in. So I thought I'd just kind of run through the status of all the neighborhoods, the water board, and the sewer board is working downtown, where we are and the status of it. A couple of examples of some of the stuff we have found and some of the advantages, as painful as this project is, and I know it's painful. But by doing it the way we're doing it, we're taking advantage of some federal funding and paving to try to address these problems so we don't just keep patching the paved road, have a failure of infrastructure, redo it and redo it. So kind of where we are, I'll turn it over to Doug.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Really, a couple of the big areas we're working in, of course, is the downtown area, Northview, and the Staley and the Heartland area. In the Northview area, we're about 42% complete of the mainline work that we're doing up there. A lot of that still has a lot of the trench repair that you've probably seen, that is gravel and stuff. So the trench repairs to actually put down some pavement are supposed to actually start tomorrow. weather pending. Tonight's not looking all that great, but they're going to start on that and get some of that in. So what you see, the color coding there is I don't know what you call that, light blue color, but that's where the main lines have already been replaced. We've got additional stuff where the yellow is. And then on the purple color, that is where we're only going to be doing services. So this is intended to continue on. Again, we're about 42% plus or minus done in that area, but a pretty significant area. And again, looking at this and how much work is being done to upgrade your infrastructure system and replace a bunch of stuff. And again, we'll show you part of the reasons why we went further in that. And again, the big thing on this is eliminating and replacing the lead service lines that have been of much advertisement in the past couple of years. And then the Staley Heartland area, most of our area has been focused down here in the Heartland area that has been replaced. The actual paving on that is intended to begin this week and take care of that area. And then, of course, they will continue to work up in the Staley area as that work proceeds. And that's about 20% complete now. Staley is a huge area, and if most of us have been in the streets in Staley, we know that they are really relatively narrow. And so therefore that time to get that work done takes just a little bit longer because it is relatively, it's fairly difficult to get in and do some of the work. The Armory and Kramer Drive, those two projects are complete. I think the trench repair has been completed on both of those, but the paving will be done in the spring. And part of that is simply because of the inability to get a paving contractor. As you can imagine, every contractor in West Virginia is trying to get paving done before winter gets here. So this was not a very big job for the paving contractor, so he is working on bigger areas. So again, the trench repair in these areas, I think, have been done fairly well. We've been out there, drove across those. They're not perfect, but unfortunately, this is going to be done in the spring. Downtown, this is the water side. Dan will talk about the sewer side in just a moment. Again, the right side of your photo there, a lot of that has been completed. Trench repair has been done. And again, the DOH will come in with a massive paving project in the spring. And again, that we'll talk a little bit more about the savings on that in a few moments. The yellow area is stuff that we still have to do, and that is because there's a lot of coordination issues, and we'll touch on that a little bit more. I mean, there's been a lot of rhetoric about, okay, why are we going in and tearing up the streets and then coming back and tearing them up again and coming back and tearing them up again? Well, it's because we have multiple utilities there, and they are at different levels. And as you'll see in a moment, there are lines that are in the way, and so it takes time to go in. The sewers are typically the deepest, both the storm and the sanitary, so you go put those in first. You leave, and then you have to come back and do the water lines. In some places, we had to wait until a gas line was out of the way in order for us to be able to put a water line, and vice versa. We had to move a water line before a gas line was able to go in. So it is my favorite analogy for Dan was when people were juggling balls and they're all going great, it looks wonderful, but drop one and all of a sudden it's a disaster. And that's kind of what we look at here. It takes a lot of moving parts in order to keep this thing moving.
The downtown stuff, so that's where the storm and sanitary work's been done. The sanitary, the main line is about 90% done. We still have to work our way up along Chestnut from Maine to Washington, working on that now. Then go back and tie in some laterals. And then in the storm, we're about 80% done. Have a tie-in Chestnut at Pike, and we have to work our way from Chestnut up to the Board of Education, 46th Street. Then we got to go back and put the inlets. As Doug said, that's a coordination issue. The inlet had to go in because the gas line was in the way. So the gas line couldn't be replaced until the sanitary, which is the deepest in the storm, were there. Then the gas company had to come back, put in the line, and get it charged up and stuff. and now we can go back and put it in. So that's why we have to kind of keep that. We have to keep it in service. We can't have interruptions. But just kind of a few examples of some of the stuff we run into. This is what we're looking at in terms of using the water.
Yeah, so in particular on the right side, those are lead lines. On the outside of the middle one is a galvanized line. And so a lot of times what you will see is galvanized lines have corrosion at a much higher rate than the lead service lines, but the lead service line is what is causing the health issue when they are a problem. You can see the coating on the inside of the right one, which is what it is supposed to be doing. But again, we are mandated to remove all lead service lines, and we will. The picture on the left is actually a 16-inch water line that came from Clarksburg on Chestnut Street. It's a 16-inch water line that has an effective inside diameter of about 3 inches. So those are some of the things that we run into in our lines that because of the aging infrastructure. And a lot of that you don't know until you take it and you go down, you dig it, you find it, and it happens.
Can you give us an estimate on how old that line is on the left?
That line is probably 100 years old in that neighborhood.
Okay.
Yep. And again, I think that is a cast iron line. It was probably not, a lot of the cast iron lines later in life were cast iron cement line. They had a very thin coating of cement on the inside of them, which prevented that from happening. But most of the older lines before they got installed did not have that. And if you have an aggressive water line, then aggressive water, then it'll cause that tuberculation on the inside of it. And it's not uncommon. Your city is not uncommon from other cities around West Virginia.
Here's a couple of examples to run into. When you're trying to install the water line here, run into multiple utilities that are interfering. It's hard to run an excavator when you've got that much interference. What I really want to talk about is the picture on the right as you look at the screen. When we first started down there, this is near Wendy's, we started digging it out and ran into a massive hole under the pavement. How the pavement had not sunk in and had a sinkhole where a car or truck would sink into it is beyond me. It turned out to be almost a 20 by 20 foot deep hole that if we had not addressed it, the state comes in and pays a year later, or the paving truck is over top, it's going to sink in. We actually had you could crawl in the pipe and look up, and a man could stood on top of the pipe before you got to the road. This is right in the busy section here in Wendy's. And this is not the only one. If you remember when we were designing and running cameras through trying to figure out where everything went, we found 3 or 4 sinkholes, I think it was, that we needed to get in and repair ahead of time. We also had the issue of right when we were designing, the water board had a main failure from 2nd Street back east for a few blocks. And so, I applaud the council. I know it's headaches and stuff, but getting this fixed before the DOH comes in and spends over $2 million, otherwise we'd be tearing it up. And go through all. And that, that causes the whole DOH on finding that hole like that. We end up filling lots of concrete rock. And then the other parts we ran into, if we're digging the soil and the sewer, we couldn't put the material back in the street like you normally would because it's so saturated from leaking sewer, sanitary, storm, and water leaks. All that material had to be hauled off, brought back in, replaced with rock, so we can get it back up to the thing. It's this aging infrastructure that needs to be replaced. To coordinate this, as I was saying, when this first got started, the administration brought us in, sanitary, water, and gas, trying to get coordination meetings to do this. So I know it's been a tough thing, but we have to try to coordinate with all this. And again, you can't, if you're trying to lay, the sanitary sewer had to go in first, and then you had to put the storm in, but you couldn't put the rest of it in until the gas company can't get in and do their line. Well, they couldn't do their line until we had the sanitary in. So they're going, hey, we're going to get done. So we can get over here, we got to put people up, and then once they get in, then they can help us expand the old line, and we can get back into the drop. And that happens all over downtown, and it continues to happen. And some of the other reasons, like the water board, they started on the east side, that contractor, well, they had to get going on the main line. Normally, the main line in and then put your saddles back in will fix the saddles, or the tap for the service lines, they were 30 weeks out. for the material to arrive. They couldn't wait they had to get in because they beat the paving schedule. So they had to go in, now they had to go back and relay the, put in the saddles and stuff. So trying to coordinate with materials has been a challenge as well. It's difficult, but we're getting there. I think the gas company's up next, and we'll talk about their project. We're keeping it, I did want to say, by doing it all together like this, while it's still a big disturbance, it will go quicker than doing it piecemeal, one utility at a time. Again, the big push, the DOH has already put out, and Mr. Gasson will address that. A paving project is going to start in the spring. If we didn't feed this in, it would normally be part of a water or sewer project, and you would have to pay more. It would have added $2 million to police work downtown. Most of it, at least in the sewer, we got this project about 45% grant, and by beating the schedule, all of it had to be under contract in December of 2024. For the sanitary storm, we were able to get $4 extra million in grant dollars plus because we beat that. And I know the water, they have 40% grant on a $60 million project as well.
Yeah, we had two timing issues there. About $9 million of that in grant money we had to have started before December 31st of 24. And then another, I don't remember off the top of my head, about another 8 or 9 million in lead service lines we had to have completed over a 5-year period. And so all of this, because everybody's asking, why are we doing all this at once? Well, we've got some very, very distinct timelines we have to do this. And if we think about that, 45% on 12 million, that's about 5 million in grant. On 40% of the 59 million on the water line, that's about 24 million. So that's $30 million worth of grant money. Had we not done all of this at once, that we would have missed out on. And so again, it was kind of a run to the finish line on a lot of this to be able to get this work up, running, completed, out to bid, and under contract in a timely manner. So it is one of those things where you and the water board had made a decision to proceed with these projects that has been, it's like we always say, which is better, take the bandage off slowly or rip it. And this is one where we almost had to just rip to make it work.
Anybody have
Yep.
questions for these gentlemen?
Yeah, I got a question. Going back to the water line map, you say 60% of it is complete. Is it the blue lines that are complete?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
So what are we looking at as far as timeline to get this done to the point where it's ready for paving?
On the downtown, which is the one where we've got to beat the DOA, Mr. Gaston was telling me it's supposed to be done, I believe will be done sometime beginning of February to middle of February for ours, in time for the storm and sewer, and then the water is going to be behind us. They'll probably finish in March or something like that, in time to beat the paving.
Yep.
As far as the downtown.
Now, what's the timeline in Northview with paving? The roads that are complete, when is that paving going to start?
The ones that are complete now,
Yeah.
those are actually supposed to start this week.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Northview.
He's asking about state.
No, I'm asking about Northview.
Northview, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paving in Northview trench repair will start this week, paving.
Yeah, we'll follow afterwards. And a lot of that is going to be weather dependent. So the trenching repair, because right now there is a lot of trench that is open to gravel.
Yep.
And so they are doing the trenching repair on that. And then the paving will follow. I don't know whether that is going to be done in December or whether that might wait till spring, but we want to get the trenches repaired as quickly as we can.
I wouldn't expect the paving in Northview to be done until spring.
Wasn't there an announcement about 6 weeks or something?
Not from the city.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I misinterpreted something. Now, the trenches are open, and that causes problems. I just generally think, the roads everywhere are rough. Is there not anything we can do to smooth them out a little bit, to make it a little more even, to take some concern about wear and tear on vehicles?
Trench repairs, when you're putting back
Right.
when you're putting back asphalt in a temporary manner, it is typically done sometimes with an actual rolling paver. A lot of times it is put back just with a hand tamper. That is typically not the best way or not the smoothest way to do it, but it is the way we have to do it. It is hard to get what we'll call a professional guy who does finish work to come in on such a small job. While we think this is large in terms of 2,000 or 3,000 feet of line, in terms of pavers bringing it in for a job, this is still relatively small in their terms. And so what we do, we try to get the temporary pavement up so that it is as well as we can get it, so that we're ready to do the bigger job and they can come in and do all of that at once. Again, it's managing their dollars and the project as well.
No, ma'am. No questions from the audience. Anybody down here on this end have a question?
I had a question regarding vehicle damage and curious exactly how that's handled. We hear a lot of reports of vehicle damage. Is that, how do you guys and all the other crews here, how do you approach that? Because to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything from the city as far as, being liable for damages. Is that something that, say, somebody blows a tire or something like that, is that something you guys address immediately, or is that something that's addressed at all? Is there a report anywhere?
We do not. That ends up, I believe, becoming an insurance claim.
Okay.
Yep.
To the
Contractor, they have to stop.
Sure.
You can't drive off and then come back.
Well, sure, I understand. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I would assume that, you guys probably look into every report or complaint that you guys did. Obviously, if somebody blows a tire out right there at the scene, I think that would be kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I understand how that would work, but, okay. Has there been, is it, you guys willing to divulge that, or is that?
We've had a couple in Northview that the contractors have,
Okay.
but they were major instances of
I appreciate it.
yeah.
I just want to piggyback on Will's question, because there was an incident probably a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, on West Pike Street, where I guess you had the steel plates that they put temporary over the trenches. I don't know if there was any asphalt around them to smooth them out, but there was a tire and blew out, and the rim was pretty much destroyed. My question is, so the process is, if something does happen right at the work site, like someone runs over that and they blow a tire or bend a rim, whatever, they literally have to stop right there and then, call, make it like a police report or something, and then who would they send it to after that? Would they send it to the contractor,
It would
or?
have to be the contractor that's responsible for that area.
Okay.
Because there are 3 different contractors working, 2 contractors are the same, but 3 different projects.
And how would like just a ordinary citizen know which contractor that may be?
I guess they all have their name on their truck, or they call me, or they call us.
We're just
Usually everybody
call
calls
you
water
guys.
board, and we try to decipher which project it is.
So essentially, if there is damage to it, because I'm trying to figure out what to tell constituents, so essentially, if there is damage, if they blow a tire, they need to stop
If you're
right
on a
there.
tire, you're not going anywhere anyway.
Right,
You should
you
stop and
stop
maybe
right
get
there.
somebody. If you need to call 911 and get an officer out.
Okay.
maybe report it.
And then afterwards, after the report's made, then call the water board.
We usually try to decipher the new project.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. You said call the water board. When I'm on West Pike Street, kind of don't work.
No, we're not in that
Oh,
area.
okay.
but
Well,
we've been-
well,
we've been
again,
taking
let's-
kind of- We've kind of been taking all the.
Before we get too far, if there is a claim, then obviously, then they need to call the 911 or have the police there, because a report needs to be written.
Yeah, and Councilmember,
And whether
we've
that-
got phone calls as well, and we've directed them who to go to.
Okay.
Right, whether
We've
those
done
go
that.
to
Okay.
the city or whether
And
they
that's
come to
fine.
the water board, each one of us will direct it to the correct place.
Okay.
Mr. Hell. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Moving along, Doug Smith?
That was me.
That's
No.
Doug.
And-
Hope
Yeah.
Hope yes.
Daniel.
Mr. Truman. Anthony's sitting there.
He didn't stand up for us.
Good evening. I'm Dan Truman, Director of Construction for Hope Gas. And before we get into it, just one item I kind of want to touch base on the last topic item from where they just discussed. To your question, in the event that we would have a resident that would pop a tire or do something of that nature, if they could contact the authorities, whatever, and get a GPS coordinate of that location, that's going to take all the question away from who was where and what, right? We've got on our daily reports, the GPS locations of where we're working, and that would help clarify some of that as well. So,
Definitely.
all right. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick rundown here of this project. The Main Street, Pike Street project is what we call it. If you will, we'll start on why this project. So this bare steel infrastructure was originally installed in the 1910s through the 1930s. So we're talking World War I and World War II vintage pipe that's in the ground out here. Little background as far as to how we got here. In 2023, Hope was asked to replace the aging infrastructure in the Clarksburg area to support the paving project. The area of interest was entered into what we call our mains replacement program, our MRP software. And then it was selected for a pipeline replacement project for us to develop and implement. Design, scoping, and coordination began in 2024. And this is just a high-level overview of the map. And this is actually, don't know if this is Clarksburg, but this is World War age pipe installation and distribution. So high-level overview of the map, starting west to east. We start down around Weston, or a Subway on the west side, Subway and Wendy's. And we go over as far as Oak Street. We come up as far north as Walnut Street and as far as south as Monticello Avenue, where we just cross Elk Creek. And on E.B. Sanders Way, we end with our station right there. So that's a kind of an overview map of how the project lays. Everything in yellow is what we're replacing. On Main and on Pike, we are running dual mains. So we're running double pipe down through there. So the overall scope of the project, this thing was set up for 34,040 feet of pipe. In that small area, you're talking 7 feet of pipe, or 7 miles of pipe in that short area. 215 estimated services. We had 63 planned tie-ins, 1 stream bore, a site build and installation of a regulator station, and our refined estimate is $15.2 million. We began scoping, design, and coordination in 24. We began construction in February of 2025, and we have a target completion date of February 26. These are some actual photos of the pipe replacement out there. Where are we now? We've installed 33,305 feet of the main line replacement, so we're at 97.8% complete. We have got 72 services completed, 26 tie-ins completed. We still do have remaining the stream bore, and we have the station set. We're just remaining the commissioning the station down there. And currently, to date, we've invested $10.8 million in this project. So the current construction activities, as of where we're at right now, MPL crews are working to complete the gas work between Monticello and Philippi Street. Hard surface restoration crews are performing final restoration on West Pike between Wendy's and Ferry Street. And MPL crews are working to introduce gas to newly installed services along Main Street, Pike Street, and complete service swaps for line purges and purge and abandonments. So looking ahead, what do we have left to complete? We have to install the intersection on Chestnut and south side of Main. We still have to install the north side of Main between 5th and 6th. We're still remaining the south side of Pike Street between Chestnut and Summer, and MPL to complete the directional bore on the Elk Creek and E.B. Sanders Way ending on Monticello Avenue. The hard surface restoration crews will continue to complete Main Street, Pike Street corridors with ahead of the paving in April. And as stretches of road become available, as we spoke earlier, we have to coordinate as far as timing when we can get in and out of there. That 1,000 feet roughly that we're remaining to lay, we're coordinating with water and sewer to be able to get in there and access those points. Some facts about the project. This project, our contractor staff, we've employed over 100 plus contract employees. Hope Gas employees is plus or minus 15. And the contractors we partnered with on this project, we've partnered with MPL, which is our prime pipeline contractor, Assist U, which is our traffic control contractor, Ascent Consultants is doing all of our compaction testing and reporting out there, BGI Inspection and Talon Inspection, Donley's our saw cutting contractor, Thrasher supported us from an environmental permitting perspective, GAI Consultant from a directional drill on the bore, the Elk Creek, and Gaiman is our paving company. So a couple wins on the project that we want to highlight. We've implemented best practices to meet critical timelines to support the Jesus Fest, West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival, and the West Virginia Black Heritage Festival. We've been flexible but steady. We've made adjustments to workflows and processes to accommodate the other utilities. I think you've done a very, very nice job explaining the different elevations of how things have to be. We're sharing the same real estate. We're sharing the same, the same ditch lines. Typically, if this was just us here from a gas company, we would have started on one end and we would have worked our way through closing it up as we went through. We couldn't do that. We had to work here. We had to move to allow them to come into work. That was a constant ebb and flow of this whole project. And that is very costly, as we had noted, but we have been successful. We've adjusted resource allocations accordingly to meet the schedule. And then we've adapted to changing requirements and work zone locations. And I thought that was a nice little fun note here. God is in control, but he don't want us to just lean on the shovel and pray for a hole, right? So go to, what is Hope Gas's commitment? Hope Gas is committed to supplying our customers with clean, safe, reliable gas. Above and beyond, that's our commitment. Developing and implementing projects that provide the most cost value for our customers. We have a fiduciary right to our gas customers to perform these projects, to implement these projects at the lowest cost that we possibly can. And as requested by the city of Clarksburg, this project was to replace the infrastructure before the state's paving project, which we are on track to do so, as I had reported earlier. And then our commitment is replacing this vintage World War I and World War II pipe. One of the statements we were talking about that he had mentioned earlier on his report about the paving challenge. That is a big challenge. Every contractor right now is trying to get the last bit of paving on the roads before the season ends. And then you've got paving plants that are making different mixes. If we need top coat and they're making base, well, you're just out. So in one way to keep this project on course and on schedule is we've started implementing concrete, bringing it clear to the top. That is to keep us on schedule, to keep us on time, to keep us moving for you all. So I thought that picture was appropriate. Any questions from our end?
You said concrete, so I noticed that on Main Street before GoMart.
Yes.
Is that where you guys first started using the concrete?
Where did we start using it?
Yeah, we started right there at the Y split where it goes from Main to Pike, right there on the corner, right as you go on the Main Street. We started going there. We're up to Sumner Street with that repair so far. And then actually today we installed the east lane of Oak Street intersection between Pike and Main. Tomorrow we'll focus on the west side of that.
You know, one thing that you all had picked up on, there were some concerns about the road plates. And I know these guys talk, well, they don't use road plates. Well, they have a little different business than what we do. When we're doing gas work and in our process and our procedures, we're putting bypasses in from the existing line over to the new line. You have to have those things set up, prepared, and plated to where when we come back to switch those customers over, you got to be back in there to access those holes, bring gas off the old line into the new, load the line up, cut those things back out. You know, we can't just pull the road plate, backfill everything, pave it all to just come right back in a couple months to hammer it all back out, to cut it all back out, to dig it all back out. That is not efficient for anyone, right? So just wanted to point out from a process perspective, the gas business is a little bit different and how we work on our ebbs and flows, and wanted you to be aware of that. Okay.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Earl Gaskins?
You want my presentation?
Yeah, I want you. You should have taken the page that shows the map of the overview.
Okay. I was just joking, Earl. I didn't really think you wanted mine.
I think you go.
Well, hey, man, here we go. Where do you want it? Right there?
Right there, you're perfect.
I know what you're wanting to do here. Not really. I'm just zooming it in for you. So the ones in the back can see, Earl.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Council, Mayor, Manager, thank you for letting me speak here. I appreciate the time. One thing I want to reiterate, and the common theme here seems to be to meet the paving schedule. And I know everybody has heard that, and these guys have seen me. I've been more involved with this project than I have any of the past. I mean, very rarely does a district manager get this involved with something. But I know I've only got 5 minutes. I'm not going to take up too much time, but let me go back in history to about 2020, whenever I was approached with the Department of Highways about downtown Clarksburg. You know, it was a shame. You drive through the city, this is the heart of the county, the city seat, or the county seat, and the roads were horrible. And we was continuously patching. We made an attempt several years ago to pave West Pike Street. And immediately after we got it paved, he was tearing the road up to fix water leaks, to fix sewer leaks. So it was kind of like you're throwing money at something and you're not getting nothing in return. So in 2020, we sat down and trying to figure out how we're going to come up with the money to pave this, because we knew it was going to be an extensive project. We rely a lot on FHWA. FHWA says you can't pave until you get your ADA crosswalks in compliance. So that was the first phase, and it took about 4 years to get that completed. We just finished that last year. And I come to the city, I have in discussions, and I'm like, okay, we're getting ready to pave. Do you guys have any concerns? Well, we got water problems. We got, lines we got to replace. When the sewer, it's defunct. And well, what about the gas line? So I requested the city, I'm like, guys, if we're going to do this, if we're going to invest this heavily into the city, then we need to pull the plug and just get it done. Because the last thing I want to do is spend $2 or $3 million of taxpayers' money for you guys to go and tear it up right behind me. So this inconvenience that we're all looking at right now was not something we took lightly. We knew this was going to happen. We knew that the level and the complexity of combining all these utilities at one time just to accommodate the paving was going to be an astronomical undertaking. And my hat's off to all the players involved, because I have never seen that much coordination between a municipality and between utilities to get something like this accomplished. You guys, typically, when you're working on state roads, we require the trenches to be filled and have a hard surface on top of it by the end of the day. You can't do that in this project, not when they're tearing it out 2 and 3 times. like he said, I mean, for every utility goes in there, there's a different level, different depth that the utility has to go in. And then you have to go back in, you have to connect the services, you have to connect the facility. All this is taking place while all these infrastructures are still serving customers. I mean, I haven't heard of too many just outages where you don't have water, don't have sewer, don't have gas. So to do this kind of complex project and this kind of level of infrastructure, and maintain those facilities to all the citizens, I think that, to me, is a tremendous undertaking. I'm not going to get too involved with the projects because you guys are handling those projects. For as far as the paving itself, the reason we are pushing so hard is I'm sure a lot of you have heard the Department of Highways runs off of what's called spending authority. We don't have a bank account. I don't have this money sitting in a bank account where I can rotate it or move it over the next year. We go every year to the legislature, we say we need X amount of money for these projects, and we present what projects we're going to do for that year, and they say, okay, we'll allot you that money. Fiscal year, July 1, that money goes away, and there's no guarantee it's going to come back. And that's what, probably to the city manager more than she ever wants to hear that. This has to get done, because if we lose this opportunity, there may not be another opportunity. There may not be another paving project for another 4 or 5 years. I can't tell you what the finance is going to be next year. So that's why this is so important. And I know it's inconvenient for everybody. I get those phone calls as well. But what I like to tell everybody is, look at next year. You're going to have a whole new city. You want you want to sell your city? Go and tell everybody you got brand new water, brand new sewer, brand new gas, and brand new paved roads. You can't market that. I mean, you can't. No, there's not a municipality in my district that compete with that. So, I understand the frustration of everybody. I understand what everybody's up against, and trust me, I feel sorry for the city right now because you guys are getting beat up. But you understand you're not in this alone, and we take full responsibility. We are the ones pushing this, and we are the ones that's pushing the paving. The reason I brought this map up, the first intention was to pave everything from West Pike Street where you get off of 19 all the way through. Now you guys got another project coming up in the Adamston area, so we kind of held off. But what we're focusing on is everything from the Y at Wendy's all the way to Hardee's on both sides. So when you come off Joy Street, there in front of the pawn shop, we're going to start there, go down past Southern States, all the way to Wendy's, come all the way back up to Marshall Street, to the Wendy's there at the intersection. So everything downtown is going to be paved, including Oak Street, because Oak Street is actually Route 20. So, and that's going to be done. I mean, the project's already been let. We're in the process of awarding it, and the work is going to start sometime in March or April. This is why this has to get done. And it's why the schedule has to match, and we've got to keep pushing. So the other side of that is we didn't anticipate the 4th Street Bridge and the 2nd Street Bridge all happening at the same time, which is unfortunate. I mean, everybody thinks that we sit down, we have these great big planning committees, and we're like, okay, let's do this and this and this now. A lot of things happen because the funding source becomes available. We got a deadline to use it, and we have to act on it quickly. So that's how, like, well, I don't know what the name of it is now. The off jurisdiction bridges, like we replaced the Hayman Highway Bridge and what was the other bridge that we done? Dublin Bridge. So those were part of an FHWA program that we got reimbursed. So we jumped in and done that. 4th Street came in right about the same time, and then the 2nd Street Bridge, as you all know, got struck by traffic. We had to fight with the insurance company to get that. When that finally opened up, now's the opportunity to get it done, so let's get it fixed. That creates a major issue because we got all this construction going on, and we're adding to the problem with this construction. It doesn't help the traffic. It doesn't help the flow. It doesn't, and everybody sees this. But what I will stress to everybody, if we can partner together and relay to the constituents that just hang in there, because you're getting a whole new city out of this. We're focusing on safety. Convenience would be nice, but I will tell you there's nothing convenient about being safe and being productive. It's going to be inconvenient to the people. And that's all I can say. Like, so we're there, we're your partners. We want to be there with you guys. We share in this responsibility, and we understand the plight you guys are going through. But like I said, I believe it's a necessity, and my hat's off to you guys for doing this for the city, because You're not going to get this opportunity ever again, I don't think. That's really all I have. Does anybody have any questions for the state?
I got some general questions, I guess, for everybody. So from everybody's experience, projects like this in other cities, how have you guys seen the cities deal with it? So I mean, right, I mean, so like we have businesses obviously losing all kinds of money. Businesses like over there by 6th Street being shut down for 8 or 9 days. We can't take 8 or 9 days off a month from working, so these businesses are losing money. So from your guys' experience, how have you seen other cities or the state help facilitate or help with those businesses that are struggling?
That is one of the unfortunate sides of when you're doing the infrastructure rebuilds. And we have the same issue in downtown Morgantown, downtown Fairmont, no matter where you're working. There really is no solution to it other than get in there, get it done as quickly as you possibly can, and get out of their way. And that's what we're trying to do. But understand, this is more than just one job. So, and that's why it seems like there's no production, but they're gaining ground. I mean, every 2 weeks we meet, and their accomplishments are amazing. But the only thing I can tell these business owners is bear with us, because I know right now it's a struggle, but next year with the new facilities and new infrastructure, hopefully your business will improve. And that's our goal, is focusing on the future. What can we do to better the future? Because we can't keep doing what we've been doing. And if you don't have infrastructure, you don't have a business anyway. One thing I can say, and we try to make sure that pedestrian traffic, they can get in there. We try to make sure the sidewalks are clear. My inspectors are out there all the time trying to make sure that every facility has, or every business has egress, or to the best we possibly can. But again, we can't accommodate every single one, every single circumstance. So that's one thing that I really don't have an answer for.
So you talked about the ADA, it was first phase. So we'll have some areas as sidewalks have the ADA ramp, a telephone pole right there, and so the ramp becomes useless.
Right.
How have you, so I guess the telephone pole is owned by Mon Power, or how do you deal with that? Because why put the ramp in if they can't even use it anyways? So how do we handle it? 'Cause there's several areas throughout the city that are like that.
Okay, so when you're dealing with sidewalks in municipalities, you're written into an animal that we could talk for hours on. The DOH's policy, and it has been since the 1980s, in a municipality, the municipality is responsible for the sidewalk, even if it's on our right of way. There's TIF grants and a few other things that we try to facilitate, but the DOH will not do anything with sidewalk. So that runs into the issue. So you're talking about telephone poles in the way. Who's going to pay for that move?
Well, so my point is, so if you had to, the first part of this project was to do the ramps,
Right.
That was a requirement.
Right.
But the requirement is to make it ADA accessible. But it's no not ADA accessible.
Well, yes and no. So our role is to get the pedestrians safely off the roadway. So our responsibility, once they get on, and I don't want to say our responsibility, but our goal is to get them safely off the road, get them onto the sidewalk, and get them out of harm's way. So there are limits on those ADA compliant sidewalks, the crosswalks, how far we go back. And then it becomes sidewalk and municipality issue. So I know it sounds foolish, but we may very well be building an ADA ramp right into a block wall. But the federal guidelines are very specific on how you have to deal with that. And like I said, we do what we can to try to accommodate, but there's no way we can relocate everything. And so once you get past that perimeter of what that crosswalk is, it's outside of our jurisdiction.
So what's the next step? How do we put the pressure on the next utility to help continue to fix the issue?
That is something that the council would have to talk about. When you talk about the sidewalk, I can't force a utility to move up for the sidewalk. Someone would have to purchase the right of way for that. And that's the other thing, like all utilities, the goal is to put them in public right of way so they don't incur that cost of having to go out and purchase right of way and place those and pass that cost on to the consumers. You're dealing with a lot of old, outdated infrastructure. Clarksburg is not unique in that, with the telephone poles and the utility poles right in the sidewalk. The ADA requirements have changed over the years, and that is a problem. What I would recommend is when that becomes an issue and the council wants to address that, reach out to some other consultant, reach out for the TIF grants, try to get some kind of funding, some kind of reimbursement and address that. And then maybe in the design itself, have the utilities relocated.
Now I've got a question about the Second Street, Second Avenue on-ramp. Obviously, the collisions that happened, there was two, and they were in succession. There was one, I believe it closed the ramp, and there was another one, and they basically said it's gonna take, months. Looks like they've replaced every single beam in there. Has there ever been any discussion at DOH or anybody that says, maybe putting that on-ramp back up is just a bad idea?
You're not wrong. But
I'm terribly worried about putting it back up, and in 6 months, we got a wide load come through there, and it's closed again.
Or raise it a little bit higher.
Yeah, well, again, it's built into a parking garage, so.
So everything goes into, we're talking about funding, all right? And I don't want to keep putting it off on funding, but that's what it amounts to. If you have a structure that's functioning properly, but it's inconvenience, but it still falls in the guidelines, do you, at what point do you pull funds from a project that's required to fix that? When the first time that was struck, we actually straightened the beam.
Yeah, I remember it being covered. You guys probably.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a technique that caused the least amount of convenience and was supposed to be quick and easy. And it was a new thing we tried, and we went up and they straightened the beam. But the problem with that is every time you flex steel, you obviously lose the strength in it. So the second time it was struck, it became defunct. We had to replace it. So part of this project is raising that bridge a little bit. And part of it is trying to solve that problem. But that bridge, you've got 3 or 4 bridges right there in succession that create a problem. One of them is a railroad bridge.
That's been struck, and it doesn't appear that it's
and
looked at or taken care of. So.
Yeah, ideally, I can't speak for the designs from back in the 60s and 70s, but it does seem kind of like a poor design to build it that way. But however, that's the way it was built, and we're left with the consequences. And as we progress and as we readdress these bridges and as we reconstruct them, we're addressing that as they come. So, eventually they'll all be raised or removed, but right now we just got to continue maintaining them as is.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Last question is, so the Christmas parade is coming up December 5th. I think it's December 5th.
Yeah.
So where's people going to be at during that? Are we going to be able to make that happen? Is there going to be issues with that?
As far as
the project going up downtown.
The project
there's
downtown.
Thousands of people. Thousands and thousands of people come down to the parade. So.
Okay, so the project right now is that's going to be up to the city council, city manager, and them on how they coordinate that. The Department of Highways phase on this one, the downtown project, is that we are permitting because it's on our right of way, and we inspect to make sure that the facilities are placed in a way that meet our specifications. But we have no control over the timelines and the scheduling and all that.
Well, it was to everybody. It wasn't just you. I looked right at you, but it was to everybody else. I understand that.
So, but as time comes, I know that in these meetings that we're having, the progress meetings, the city manager brings up schedules and things just like the Italian Heritage Festival. And we started 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time getting things ready for that and trying to make these, nothing happens overnight. But with proper planning and proper communication, which, guys, I'm not just up here saying this, I've never seen this kind of coordination in any municipality in my career. So what you guys are accomplishing is phenomenal. You guys ought to pat yourself on the back, and hopefully the citizens realize what a good job you guys are doing on this. But other than that, these contractors have been great to work on. I show up, we've changed what we requested Dominion to do on these trenches 2 or 3 different times. And that's a cost that they're incurring. But if it's not working, if we try something and we see it's not working, it's not safe, it's not functioning properly, we'll stop and go back and we'll say, okay, let's try something different. He isn't forced to try to use concrete. That's the company's choice to do that because it's better for the community. But that's a cost someone's paying for. To have everybody do concrete would be, I don't know what that would cost, additional cost that'd be to your contract, but it'd be more than you guys could bear, I'm sure. This time of year is very unfortunate because, like he said, I can attest, we're trying to get asphalt for patching. And there's days my trucks will show up at the asphalt plant and say, we're not loading DOH trucks today. I mean, that's a common problem. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just, that's the industry. So we've got to step back and punt. And these guys are willing to do that. So, as long as we stay in communication, as long as we stay together and united on this, we're going to come to an end, and it's going to be a successful endeavor.
Thank you, Mr. Gaskin.
I just want to make a comment. I appreciate you guys coming here and talking with us. I mean, it's been very educational and enlightening to me, and you guys really do care. I really do believe that you all care. You're out there, doing your craft and everything and what you're skilled to do, but you still took the time to come up here and talk to us and kind of educate us on that, and Bobby Tenney over here, I mean, just the amount of work that he puts in every day just to keep in communication, with everybody, with the city, and sometimes folks on Facebook. It's just incredible. So, I mean, I appreciate you guys, really do. So thanks.
And I appreciate that. And I've said, when I stepped in office in August, and I worked with DOH different capacities, but I became district manager in August. And I said, one of my goals is to reconnect with the municipalities. And I've been, in District 6 or District 4, we have quite a few municipalities, but Clarksburg is one of the ones that stepped up. And I can't stress that enough, how much easier that makes my job to bring back the community when I got cooperation from the city. The mayor, the city manager, everyone involved has been fantastic to work with. And when it comes to DOH, like I said, I know I only had 5 minutes, but we're investing $72 million in this area. That's unheard of. We got I-79 getting ready to be replaced. Or repaired. You got Cost Avenue. You got all this paving going on, all these projects. And if we're going to invest that money, we as an agency want to make sure that our money is being invested properly. And part of that is making sure that infrastructure is ready for us when we get there. And like I said, that's where we're at right now.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to the DOH, thank you to Thrasher, thank you to Hope Gas. I mean, what Wayne said, you guys are, I mean, it's an inconvenience for all of us, so it's not like, we're all not involved in this, but we appreciate your efforts and keep up the good work, and thank you.
Thank you.
And before you guys go, I'd just like to say, basically, in all of our meetings, I ask that, all of the citizens remain patient. But I have to explain that there is that level of frustration. The gentleman who spoke earlier, when he was talking about, when everybody's juggling and you have all the balls in the air and everything's going well, yeah, that's great. I don't know when that is exactly, but when that one ball hits the ground, basically, that's when phones get to ringing. So, all I'm asking is that, keep in mind that, when you are doing things, you're doing it from a vision that you're looking at the long game and you have that professionalism, and some people may not quite understand. So please try to keep the citizens in mind. Absolutely. Because some of the things that you do, they don't quite understand. It creates a little confusion with individuals who are out here and they're trying to navigate this, because I found myself confused a couple of times. So, I appreciate everyone coming in. I'm not an engineer. I don't understand the complexities of all the work that's being done. I know there's a lot of work being done. And, I equate this to a home remodel. Yeah, it's a mess right now. But once we get it cleaned up, we won't be able to, show it off to enough people. So, thank you all very much. And, please keep us in mind that the citizens, there is a level of frustration. The work areas can get cleaned up. Sometimes the plates that are laid, they lay a little high. It makes me a little nervous because it's like, I'm not going to hit that. So, please keep the citizens in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilman Jackson, my answer to that is transparency. We've got to be transparent. And as long as we're communicating, we're transparent, we're honest with everybody, I think we'll all come out ahead. One more thing. Someone asked about damages. If there's one DOH right away, there is a number for the claims division, and they can report that.
Having my wife out in Billable one time on 20.
Yeah. It is a slow process.
Oh, yes. It took about 8 months.
Yeah, but it does work. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
We have to adjourn.
He quit. I guess I'm up.
You done, Jim?
Yeah.
He had other things on.
He had a good run. He had a good run.
Restroom break, I guess. I guess. I guess we're done. I don't. No.
Yeah, we're on there. Well, we can.